Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Customs. So today I'm going to do a review on my Badger Renegade Series Velocity Airbrush, and it's kind of a mixed review. It's not like it's the best review in the world. I hate to say it, but the airbrush itself is just not for me anymore. I bought it back in 2008, and it kind of replaced my Sotar 2020, because the Sotar 2020 was a nightmare, but I won't get into that. So this kind of was like the replacement. And this was before I actually tried out Iwatas and other airbrushes. So at the time I was liking the airbrush. It was great. It was a good workhorse airbrush. It pushes through metallics very well, pearls very well, but it doesn't do super fine detail the way I would like it. And the other problems I found with it is the needles. I didn't realize it, and I thought it was common at the time, but now I realize that it's not. I was going through needles like crazy. Like every couple weeks or every couple paint ups, all of a sudden I found out the needles are all messed up, it's bent, and as you can see I had backups. And these things are like 12, 16 bucks a pop, depending on if you're lucky you can find them cheap. And I just found that they, it felt like they spent more money and time working on the case than the actual airbrush itself. But it is a dual action. You have your dual action in, and you have your piece here where you can screw it in and stop it from coming all the way back. It doesn't come with a quick disconnect. I had to buy that myself. And it comes with this little cheap plastic piece to cover this, which I don't understand. All the other Badgers I had in my time, they have metal caps, but this one, I don't understand that. But the metal in here, now this one is one of the newer ones I had, some of the older ones. This metal in here got really all scratched up, and it just started having paint stick to it, and it didn't work out too well. And these two prong pieces on here, now this one, I don't know what happened to my cap. I think when I sent it in the Badger, they sent me back with two prongs because I didn't have it with two prongs. These two prongs catch up so much paint. For some odd reason with this airbrush, it just, before you know it, you're splurting and you're wondering why, and you find out that paint is all caked up on this piece. So I really am phasing out this airbrush. This airbrush has become a nightmare compared to my Iwatas and other ones. So I don't suggest people picking this up if you're a veteran airbrush painter and you're willing to drop the money on a really nice good airbrush, anywhere from $200–300. This brush is kind of what you get what you pay for. You can get it around $70 now. I think when I picked it up at the time, it was only like maybe $120 brand new, but that was back in 2008 when it just came out. It's not my airbrush that I use anymore. It's kind of, I dedicated it since I have parts left, and it's not really worth getting rid of at this point. It's kind of a good testing airbrush. So if I get a new paint, and I haven't really messed with it too much, and I don't know what this paint is going to do to an airbrush, I will push it through this one. Because then I can see if it's going to ruin the airbrush, I'll let it ruin this one. If I am using a lacquer paint, which sometimes I use these Alclad clear paints, these paints will actually like clog up an airbrush, so I don't put this through any of my fine detailing airbrushes. I'll run it through this one. So, because I figure if this is going to clog up something, it's going to clog this sucker. So, I can't really say buy it. From my experience, I would say stay away from it. But if you're on a budget and you need an airbrush that's decent, but that'll kind of hold you over till you're ready to drop that money on an airbrush, it's not a bad airbrush, to tell you the truth. It still works. It'll push through clears no problem. It'll push watered down paints, metallics, but I just found that I was just fixing it, repairing it, and sending it in too much. But the good thing about Badger, though, I'll have to say, is if you have a problem with a Badger, whether the needle's bent or it's getting clogged and you can't clean it, you can send this in to Badger with a $6 check or a money order, and they'll clean it, repair for you for free, and send it back. So that's a good thing about Badger. It's a lifetime warranty. So as long as they're in business and they're making airbrushes, and you got a problem with an airbrush from Badger, you send it in, they'll repair it. So that's an upside with it. So that's good. So if you don't mind, getting an airbrush, using it, but you're kind of not, don't know what you're doing, and something happens, you can send it in the Badger and they'll replace it. But the downside is, it's just not for me anymore. It's just, they just spend too much time on the case compared to the airbrush itself in my eyes. So I'm phasing it out. I'm not using it anymore. And honestly, I say everyone stay away from it. It's just not the airbrush to stick with. But like I said, if you think you could get it cheap and you're using it and it works for you, more power to you. You know, it's like it's like the Airbrush wars. It's like console wars for video games. Brand wars. Everybody loves their brand and their Airbrush, which is fine. I understand that, and I'm not saying Badger sucks. I still have a couple other Badgers that I use, but this one for me has become a nightmare. So I went from 2020, which was a complete mess because I couldn't find parts for it and it was too expensive, to this one where it came to the point where it's buying needles, so I kind of phased it out. So that's my review on it. It still works. It's not a bad airbrush. Well, what I'll do is I'll set it up, I'll spray it on the board, give you an idea of how it looks and what it does, and then you can make your judgment for yourself whether you want to pick one up, you want to try it out, or if you have one and you're thinking about moving on. It just gives you my review and my thoughts on it. So let me set up, I'll show you how it works, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we threw in some paint, and basically gives you an idea how this brush kind of works. It's not a bad brush. It doesn't, we're at like maybe a little over 15 psi. It does a nice stream. It does go fairly thick, not too much. You can pull it all the way back and kind of spray. But I just find that it doesn't always give me a specific straight stream. It does spurt. No matter how many times I've cleaned it, no matter how many different needles and tips I've put in it, I still never get that perfect stream I do with my other one. So, it's still not a bad airbrush. I mean, if you just want something cheap where you just kind of want to spray a statue, get a nice thick coat on it, and then that's it, it's not bad. So it still has its uses. You just got to be very careful and you got to know how to clean it and take care of it all the time. But other than that, I just stay away from it. If you're spraying heavy and close, yeah. And then it's hard to probably see it in the video, but it's already starting to get some paint stuck up on the two pieces already, and when you spray heavy like that. And even if you're just spraying like this, you're just getting a coat. After a little while, it starts caking up pretty bad up there. So that's pretty much the Badger Velocity in action. It's, like I said, it's not super bad, but it's not great either. So you got to make your own judgment for that. That's my judgment. That's my review. As you can kind of see on the stream, like right here, it's kind of spurting and stuff, and it does it no matter how many times no matter what I've done with it. Even when I've got it back from Badger, it still does it. So that's it in action. So you make your own judgment, and if you have one that works for you, more power to you. But for me, Badger Velocities are kind of outdated and gone. It's just not working anymore. So hopefully you guys liked the review. Hopefully it helped you out, gives you an idea what it is and what it does. And we'll see you next time with some more reviews.